Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video.
I am 45, male, and once thought I made the best decision in marriage. But that was the joke of the century. At some point, my wife and I couldn't see eye to eye. There were so many major things wrong with our marriage that nothing I did worked. Mainly because I was the only one putting in the effort. So we called it quits. But here we are again. It has been years since my divorce, and I have moved on with my life, or so I thought. But one day, I received a message from my ex-wife's daughter, an ultimatum of sorts. She said there was more to the story of our divorce and that she had information that could ruin her mother's reputation. My stepdaughter and I were considerably close. Her mom gave birth to her before we met, and we never had any kids because she couldn't carry anymore. I saw her daughter as my daughter, and I'd like to think I was satisfied with that. Hearing what my stepdaughter said, I was taken aback, unsure of what she could possibly mean. I begged her not to reveal the information, citing my ex-wife's request to keep things private, but she was determined, insisting that the truth needed to be told. I was desperate to keep the information from coming out, knowing that it would cause a lot of pain and hurt for everyone involved. I tried to reason with her, but she was resolute in her decision. Eventually, she revealed the information. My ex-wife had been battling a drug addiction, which led to her neglecting her daughter and her responsibilities as a mother. That I already knew, so I didn't act surprised. I told her that was one of the reasons we got divorced. She then told me that there was more that I didn't know about and would be beyond shocked. That made me curious because there were so many loopholes that I couldn't explain, especially concerning our finances. It turned out that my ex-wife had been having an affair during our marriage. She showed me pictures and text messages of her and her lover, and that once she even aborted a child. It was surprising because they all thought she couldn't get pregnant. As if that was not enough, she was the one who stole money from our joint account as her addiction spiraled out of control, causing our financial ruin. I was heartbroken, feeling like my entire marriage had been built on a lie. I couldn't believe that my ex had kept such a huge secret from me and that it had led to the collapse of our marriage. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief that I finally had an explanation for what had happened. Maybe this was what I needed to really let go and move on. But the revelation came with a price. My ex-wife was furious with me, blaming me for the information coming out. She accused me of betraying her trust and airing her dirty laundry in public. How dare she get angry at me? Now that I think about it again, I feel stupid for feeling sorry for her. When I was in the situation, I still loved her and was hurt. I tried to defend myself, but it was clear that she was not going to listen. I was left feeling guilty and ashamed, knowing that my actions had hurt the people I loved. It's ridiculous, but I still cared for my ex-wife. She was the one who wanted a divorce. I only accepted because I knew it was the best for both of us. It was too toxic for both of us, between her addiction, us losing money and not being able to have more children. We were always fighting. In a year, you could barely count the number of times that we were happy. I tried to make amends, but it was clear that the damage had been done. My ex-wife and I were no longer on speaking terms. Her daughter was furious with her mother, as she had always seen me as the stable parent in her life, even though I was not her biological father. The revelation of the truth had a domino effect in my life. It caused a rift with my family. My ex-wife and her daughter were at loggerheads. I also had issues with my friends and colleagues. Some of my closest friends were annoyed with me for not confiding in them. Others were just looking for something to say. People would always be people, I guess. It was a controversial and hurtful situation, and it left me questioning my actions and the cost of the truth. I think I would have preferred not to find out the truth or keep it from coming out because I couldn't bear the humiliation. It was honestly very exhausting. Years went by and I thought I had finally moved on with my life, but one day I received a letter from an unknown sender. Inside, I found a series of documents and photos that revealed that the story my stepdaughter had told me was not the whole truth. It turns out that she had been aware of her mother's addiction and had even helped her hide it from me. My stepdaughter was worse than her mother, and that's saying a lot. I was furious and felt like I had been played for a fool. My stepdaughter had been pretending to care all along, and I had been the only stable parent in her life, even though I was not her biological father. I couldn't believe that she had been so manipulative and deceitful. I was there for her every step of the way, and I stepped in whenever she needed a father figure. I confronted her about it, and there was no remorse. She said I took away the little affection that her mom still had for her. It was already bad that her mom neglected her most of the time, but when I came into the picture, her mom wanted to be better for me. So she did everything to get me to love her. And the rest of her time was on her addiction and hiding it away from me. My ears were ringing. She had been planning to destroy our marriage for years, and she did. I knew that I had to make her pay for what she had done. I began to plot my revenge carefully and methodically. I knew that I had to be patient and wait for the right moment, as she did. I was going to make her pay for everything she did to me and beat her at her own game. I had nothing to lose because she had taken everything from me. The money that she said my wife stole actually came to her. She was the mastermind behind all of it. All I could think of for weeks was that I had to make her feel some of what she made me go through. I started by ruining her reputation, spreading rumors and lies about her to her friends and colleagues. I also made sure that she was passed over for promotions at work and even had her fired from her job. I even went as far as to ruin her relationships, spreading rumors and lies about her to her boyfriends. My stepdaughter's life began to spiral out of control, and she had no one to turn to. She was alone and isolated, just like I had been when she betrayed me. My stepdaughter couldn't turn to her mother now that she knew what she did and how she put the blame on her when she had been the one that encouraged her to relapse and helped take the money. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that she was finally getting a taste of her own medicine. I'm not going to lie. I really enjoyed seeing her suffer, probably more than I should have. But as the days went by, I realized that my actions were not justified. I had become a monster, consumed by my own anger and hatred. I had become a shadow of my real self. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. I didn't like that I enjoyed ruining my stepdaughter's life, even though she ruined mine first. I knew that I had to make amends for what I had done. I sought therapy to work on my anger and resentment. I realized that revenge only leads to more pain and suffering, and it was not worth it. I wanted to go for therapy before facing my ex and her daughter. We were all a mess, and I didn't know how to go about it. That's why I started with something I could control, getting myself to a better place mentally and emotionally. I apologized to my ex and my stepdaughter and promised that I would do whatever it took to make things better, but my stepdaughter told me to get lost. Her mom was more welcoming, so we talked things out and decided to forgive each other, but it was better we stayed out of each other's lives. She had made up with her daughter at that time and said she would come around. I tried for a while, but my stepdaughter still hated me, and I decided that that wasn't on me. She did something horrible, and I did too, so none of us needed to be on our high horses. I was ready to move on and leave all of this behind me, and would do it even if my stepdaughter wasn't ready. She has been bitter for years, pretending to be happy, so that must really cut deep. NTA, this whole problem started with a mother who shouldn't have been one, and she created a monster for a child who destroyed everything. Her child wouldn't have grown resentful if she had done her part. YTA, it's clear that your stepdaughter was a hurting child who had now become an adult but was still struggling. You may have just made her worse. People who have these issues need love, not revenge. Now you made her think she was right to do all she did to you because you were not a good person. NTA, everyone in this played a part. It is full of lies, deceit, pain, and revenge. When all of that is involved, all the lines are blurred. It is good that you decided to work on yourself and you try to make amends. It's okay if anyone doesn't want to come on board. You must move on with your life. I'm female, 36. My sister Janet, female, 32, has 3 kids. Maddie, female, 14, Noah, male, 10, and Nikki, female, 8. Janet had Maddie with her boyfriend, Mark. They hadn't been together long, but when Janet found out she was pregnant, they eloped. For the first several years, their marriage was fine. However, it started getting rocky when Nikki was born because Janet became a stay-at-home mom, making Mark work more. It grew progressively more tense between them to the point where they contemplated divorce. Because of Nikki's age, Janet and Mark didn't want to divorce and decided on counseling. They've been in it for a few years now, and their marriage has gotten better. Their counselor suggested a date every 2 weeks, so Janet will contact me asking she can drop off her kids at my place. They're well behaved, so I have no problem watching them. Typically, it will be after my workday is over. This is where it's messy. Janet asked me if I could watch her kids for a whole week. Her 15th wedding anniversary with Mark is coming up, and they are planning a Florida trip. I only live 20 minutes away, so I was a convenient choice. I'm a graphic designer and currently working on a large project for a client's baby shower, but I figured that it would still be okay to watch Janet's kids because they'll be in school most of the day, so I agreed. Later on, Janet then asked if she could have their dog over too. I said no because I'm highly allergic, have no space for a dog in addition to her 3 kids, and my husband and I both work full-time, so we just can't occupy a dog. Janet seemed understanding and told me she would look into kennels for her dog that week. The day of their trip, they came over and Janet handed me a leash with their dog and gave my husband a bag of dog food. I pulled Janet aside, mentioning that I had explicitly said my husband and I were in no position to take care of a dog, and she shrugged it off, telling me that Noah was getting separation anxiety from their dog, so they ended up not looking into kennels. She then told me that her trip was important and she saw no reason why I couldn't put up with my allergies and put time aside for a dog when it's only a week. I reminded her that I was already taking on her children without getting paid, and now she was forcing the one thing upon me that I said I could not do. Janet rolled her eyes and then turned to leave because they were going to miss their flight and had nowhere else to take the dog. I shoved the leash back in her hand and told her she could forget about her trip then, because if she couldn't hold up her end of the bargain, I wouldn't either. So there was no need for her children to stay since she had to stay behind for the dog anyway. Long story short, she missed her flight, called me a huge a-hole, and said I'm causing damage to her marriage because family would have helped out. Her friends contacted me, also calling me an a-hole. AITA? Thank you everyone in the comments for your support. I have since spoken with Janet and told her that I will no longer be babysitting her children without her paying. I also took the suggestion that someone made about correcting her on social media, and she took down her post almost immediately. To respond to the person that said it sounds like I don't have a good relationship with my nieces and nephew because of how I worded this, I babysit them about twice a month and see them on holidays. I'm a family-oriented person and very close with my sister and her children. Not really sure how it came across as that I don't have a connection with them when I take multiple times a month to support that side of the family, but whatever. So I didn't know this, but Janet has Reddit for privacy. I will not be disclosing her username. And apparently, she was very upset to read all this. I asked if her therapist has suggested a vacation, and she went quiet. But Mark, later on, told me that it was mainly Janet's idea because she felt she needed a break from being a stay at home mom. I let my husband know that we won't be doing them any free favors anymore, and he agreed that it's for the best after this incident. For the time being, I've also restricted overnight stays of my nieces and nephew as well and blocked all of Janet's friends. NTA. Noah having separation anxiety from the dog is for her and husband to deal with, not you. He might really have separation anxiety. He might just be their attempt to save money on a kennel. But you said no. Why should you put up with allergies for a week so she can go relax and sun herself? You was already doing her a big favor by babysitting for free. Her friends are welcome to take the dog, regardless of the work, have allergies or whatever, if they feel that way. NTA, I'll bet she just didn't want to pay for a kennel and assumed she'd just corner you into doing it. I'm impressed you stood your ground. You were generous enough to watch the kids. What she did was an a-hole move. I would refuse to watch the kids anymore until she apologizes and ask her friends what she said to them. I'll bet what she told them is not the truth. So I'm 30, female, husband's 33, male, brother, 34, male, brother's wife, sister-in-law, 32, female, and their son, 20 months, are planning to visit us next week and stay for the week since we live several states away and don't get to see each other often. Quick background. My sister-in-law has never been very kind to me. Some examples include her not inviting me to her wedding. My husband and I were serious then. Not inviting me to her birthday. Very serious then. Refusing to get her hair and makeup done for my wedding. I asked her to be a bridesmaid for my husband. Which, by the way, I'm aware this is silly, but every other wedding she went to that year, as a bridesmaid, she got her makeup done. And at this point, I was so sensitive to her that little things hurt. Anyway, the other week I texted my sister-in-law asking her plans on where her son will be sleeping. She responded that her son should take my daughter's, 5 months, crib, and she should sleep in the pack and play. I explained that this wouldn't work for us because she just started sleep training. We just moved her to the crib from the bassinet, and I don't want to displace her from her bed while she's still getting used to it. She responded that since her son is bigger, he should obviously get the crib because the pack and play will be too small for him, and since my daughter is so young, that she can sleep anywhere. At this point, I was already getting frustrated, but I offered to buy them a travel crib for up to £50 that he can sleep in since that should alleviate the size issue. She also declined this option and said that this conversation was ridiculous since I should just give them the crib and that she's trying to help me sleep train my daughter. Anyway, again, I reiterated that I would prefer my daughter to sleep in her own crib and suggested she look into renting a crib via BabyQuip and that we can split the total with them. To this, she responded that this is not happening and she wanted us to pay for all the costs or just give up and give her son the crib. Anyway, I told her that the only solution cannot be her son getting my daughter's crib and that very often things are her way or the highway, to which she responded, maybe they shouldn't come. This conversation was about 3 weeks ago, and we have not spoken since. They're supposed to come next Thursday, but I'm feeling so uncomfortable with the whole situation. So, AITA for not giving up the crib? Edit for content. The crib is currently in our primary bedroom. She does not sleep in her own room yet. Thank you all so much for your input. You have no idea how much you validated my feelings and made me feel justified in my stance. I know it's also on me for being such a pushover and doormat all these years. I was always hoping we could become close friends, but LOL, the feeling is very clearly not mutual. However, now she's messed with my baby and I'm pissed, to be honest. I'm making my husband deal with it and told him we have the pack and play or they can figure it out. Also, that she's not allowed in our house without a proper apology. I don't know if this is the best solution, but baby steps. But I promise, if she makes any comments, re my daughter's crib, and using it while she's here, my pushover days are over. NTA, you should tell your husband and let her know her place. She's a guest at your house, and it should be very easy to close the doors at her, even if other people don't like it. If someone's doing for you, you should be grateful, or at least don't act so entitled to demand stuff. In a house, it's not their own. Tell her the kid can sleep with them in their bed.